Talk about low budget flights, no food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better. Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to another video. So today I'm reviewing yet another Pixar movie, but this time it's going to be different because today I'm reviewing Luca. So this is one I just hardly ever hear anyone talk about. It's just a passing mention of, oh yeah, that was good. I liked it, and then you just never really hear about it again. Because this is part of that weird post Toy Story 4 pre-Elemental phase of Pixar where they made a bunch of originals, which I guess you could count Elemental as part of that, even though it was only in theaters. But these all went straight to Disney Plus, well, except for Onward, but whatever. They were all originals, and they were all just not that well. Well, they're just very distinct compared to the rest of Pixar's catalog, and I don't really like any of them, but I do really not even Soul. I think that could have been really good had it used on their draft, but Luca is the one exception of these that I think is just really good. This definitely isn't Pixar's best movie, not even close, but it's just a really good time that I got really invested in, and I don't hear anyone talking about it. So without further ado, let's dive into why Luca is an underrated gem. But give me a second. Gotta go get up and do something. So I'm gonna go over Luca in the order of the story and not just different sections of it at a time because I think the way this movie is paced is just too important. I think if you're describing it, giving it a review, you gotta go by how it actually plays out. So Luca's about this boy named Luca who's a fish man, I guess, living in this underwater society of fish people near this Italian town. And Luca's parents definitely don't want him going up to the surface. They say it's too dangerous. Stay away from boat monsters, which that's already an interesting thing, which is that we call all these fish people sea monsters, which is what the humans in this movie actually do call them. But they call humans boat monsters. They're just as scared of them. They're just as scared of us as we are scared of them, which is already an interesting idea that the movie does sort of get into later on. But Luca is just really fascinated though by what's up there because a few things from the surface fall down and he gets them, kind of like the Little Mermaid, I guess. But eventually he just goes to the surface and meets this other fish kid named Alberto, just been living on the surface on his own for a while. And Luca does just occasionally go and visit him, and he learns about a Vespa and really, really wants one. Because that way he and Alberto can roam around wherever they want and have freedom. But Luca's parents hear about it, and they want to send him to live in the bottom of the ocean for a while with his uncle voiced by King Julian. But Luca doesn't want to do this and escapes and just goes running around with Alberto to try to get a Vespa, where they eventually go into this Italian town where the rest of the movie takes place. But before I get into that, I just want to say that Luca and Alberto are my second favorite Pixar duo. Nothing can top Mike and Sully from Monsters Inc., of course, but these guys are just really fun. And it's really entertaining to watch as they actually, much like Mike and Sully, I can really buy it these two guys are friends. Yeah, I like Woody and Buzz and all, and what are some others? Lightning McQueen and Mater. Oh yeah, those are really good. But I think these two just work for me more than most of the others because I can just again buy that these two boys are friends because the movie spends a lot of time developing their friendship because the plot is not super complicated. It's quite simple, actually. So you're really able to understand how every character works. Even though they're not the most deep of characters, that really doesn't matter. But now I have to get into the main plot itself. So, Luke and Alberto go to this town on the Italian Riviera where they're just wandering around trying to see how things work exactly because, I mean, even though Alberto knows some stuff about the human world, it's not like he knows that much. Just whatever he was told by his father, who seems to have abandoned him. I mean, it's like this one bit where they try ice cream for the first time. It was funny. But things really kick up when they meet this jerk kid with growing a mustache who has a Vespa of his own. And he's basically just this town's bully that all the kids are afraid of, that nobody likes, but nobody will stand up to him. And Luca and Alberto really hate this kid. And this is where they meet Julia, who is the other main character of this movie. So they agree with her that they can help her in the Potoroso Cup this year because she participated all by herself the previous year and did not win. She ended up throwing up a bunch, and that mean kid won like he always does. So they figure that they'll work together, and with the prize money, Luca and Alberto can buy a Vespa. And I like Julia. She's a good character. I'll get into more bits about her later, but I like how she doesn't fall into the same kinds of plot devices like the liar revealed trope or the misunderstanding that she so easily could have, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, Luca and Alberto imagine getting a Vespa with all that prize money and winning this cup. So they're definitely ready to join her. And this is where the story really picks up. So they meet her father, who they are very terrified of because, again, they need to make sure that no one finds out they're actually sea monsters. And this guy cuts fish for a living. Everyone in this town says sea monsters are real, except for Julia, and they all want to kill them. But things don't go quite that way, as we see. Well, one, we cut back to that Lucas' parents get to the surface to try to find him because they find out that he went missing. They think he must have gone here. So they turn into humans too when they get out of the water. That's just how this world works. And they go off to find their son. But meanwhile, Luca and Alberto have to work for Julia's father, who, just a side note, he looks almost exactly like Flint's dad from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I thought that was a pretty funny detail, but I like how, well, mostly comes later. I like how they kind of bond with him, which definitely helps for the climax. And that, well, he thinks they're kind of weird. He likes these boys. He's not really question anything they do. But besides, they do catch a lot of fish for him. But eventually they do get the money to enter the Poderoso Cup, where they once again get bullied by this jerk kid who, yeah, I haven't said his name this whole time because I cannot remember his name. I can remember names like Luke and Alberto because they're the main characters. I can remember Julia, but I cannot remember this kid's name because it's some Italian name. I'm not Italian. But I get bullied by him a bunch, but Luca actually stands up to him, which gets this kid really mad, but they do enter, agreeing that Julia will do the bike riding part of the competition. Or no, she'll do the swimming part of the competition. Luca will do the bike riding, and Alberto will do the spaghetti eating. And we see them train for it a whole lot, and we get to see all the characters bond, which I like. Because again, the plot is not that complicated or anything. Much as I love a good, complex, juicy Pixar plot in the vein of Wall-E or Toy Story 3, it's nice to get something like this. I mean, surprise, surprise, you probably know this by now, but Ratatouille is my favorite Pixar movie, so much like that, it's nice to get one that has a more simple plot, but because of that, it's able to focus on its characters and themes more, which is really nice. And also, there's this Julia and her father's cat throughout this early portion of the movie. It seems to smell fish, I guess, from Luca and Alberto, and is really suspicious of them, tries to attack them. Of course, no one knows what that means exactly, but things definitely change though as this section of the movie goes on. As Luca starts learning things from Julia about the rest of the world, like what stars are. He thought those were just fish in the sky, and he gets really excited about it, and finds out that so her parents are divorced, Julia's parents are divorced, and she lives with her father every summer, but during the rest of the year, when she goes to school, she lives with her mother in the big city of Rome, I don't know, some big city in Italy. And Luca kind of wants to go because he wants to be around other kids, other humans, learn more of how this world works. He's really excited about this. But Alberto gets kind of jealous that Lucas seems to care more about Julia than about him, and that he wants to leave him later after this whole competition is over. And he reminds him that they have to get that Vespa and they can get all sorts of cool stuff on it and all that. And it's just nice because you kind of feel bad for Alberto here because yeah, you do see that he and Luca were best friends. You don't really want to see him go away from him, but you understand that Alberto is still kind of being a little obsessive. I mean, Luca can have other friends, but it's not really too bad right now. But things do eventually get bad once tension just really rises between the two of them, and Alberto reveals to Julia that he is a sea monster, and Luca just he doesn't reveal to Julia that he's also a sea monster. He just acts as surprised as she is, and Alberto runs away. And eventually Julia finds out that Luca is also a sea monster. But again, as I alluded to earlier, what I like is that this so easily could have been a liar revealed plot or something like that. I mean, this is a main character's breakup, except it actually works here, but that's for the next part of this video. But yeah, like Carol, there's never a bit where Julia says, "How could you have lied to me the whole time? The two of you, I thought the two of you were my friends or whatever. You're actually sea monsters." No. There's none of that. She learned to trust these boys. They're nice. They're good. So she just tells Luca, "You have to keep this hidden. You have to make sure no one finds out." And winning this competition now with only two people is going to be a lot harder. This is where we get to the said characters break up and then reunite. And this is might be my favorite version of it actually, even more so than Wreck-It Ralph, which did it really well. What I like here is that this is where it's confirmed that Alberto's father abandoned him. He's just been living here on this island for a really long time all by himself. And it's just kind of sad. And he's telling Lucas, trying to convince him that he has to come and join the competition. He has to help them. They have to get the Vespa. And he says, and Alberto's just sick of this. He doesn't really care about any of this anymore. He's accepted that they can't win. That this is just pointless. They never. He says that the two of them never even should have become friends in the first place. He says, "You're a good, nice kid. I'm not. I'm not really that kind of good kid, but you are." But Luca is able to convince him once he does what he did in the beginning, Alberto did in the beginning, where he jumps off this tower and says, "Take me, gravity!" And this is able to convince Alberto, well, not yet anyway, but that Luca still cares about him, and this is really important that he needs to go back with his friends and finish this. But this is where we get to the actual Poto Rosso Cup itself. So one, we see that Luca it decides to not be part of a team with Julia, but instead just do this by himself. And to make sure no one sees his fish scales, he gets in a diver bell for the swimming competition, or a diving suit rather. And he's able to do really well. He's able to get through that. He's able to get through the spaghetti eating part of the competition, and he's even able to get to the final leg of it with the bike ride. And he's doing really well. But during this, it starts to rain, and Alberto comes back with an umbrella, so of course no one will see that he's a sea monster. But eventually, he gets caught. The water pours all over him. His sea monster side is revealed, and he gets a net tossed on him. And the rain of course spills on Luca too, and he's also revealed to be a sea monster. But he just picks up Alberto and rides to the finish line with him to win the day. And this is where I also have to talk more about the villain here. There's this shot where it's intentionally supposed to show that where it even has a flash of lightning, where this kid thinks he's some terrifying threat, but guy, you are not Lord Shen. You are just some obnoxious kid who thinks he's better than everyone else. Who everyone is just afraid of him. Nobody really thinks he's that great or anything. And Julia just rides her bike into his, and he falls down and gets really injured. This also injures her, but she's still alive. This is where the whole town sees Luca and Alberto for what they actually are. And Luca just yells at this kid, I'm not afraid of you." And he says, "Well, everyone is afraid of you. We are disgusted. You are monsters." And Julia responds with, "They're not monsters." And he says, "Who are they then?" And her father comes out in front of everyone and says, "I know who they are. They are Luca and Alberto, and they are my friends." And after everyone sees this, and that, yeah, they did win the competition, everyone is just kind of proud of them for this. Because after all, they saw that even this guy says that they're just nice boys. They're his friends. They haven't done anything wrong. And then this leads to this mean kid's goons tossing him into a fountain log with his fancy sweater. And he's completely humiliated in front of everyone. And despite technically being apart for this, Luca, Alberto, and Giulio get hailed as the winning team of the competition. They get the trophy and everything. And Luca finally reunites with his parents, who say even though what he did was really bad, technically running away from home, they're super proud of him. And it's just a really nice moment to see how everyone's just really proud of him for doing this. But this is where we get to the end. So yeah, I guess they got the prize money to buy a Vespa of their own. They're really happy to have it. And we get to see our main three characters reunited once again. But this is where things really get emotional. So Luca's parents and Julia's father made arrangements for Luca to live with Julia and her mother, and he gets to go to school with other kids. Alberto said he wanted to come, but he can't because he'd like Luca's parents still need some kid to be around, I guess, like they're like another son to them. And he also has become friends with Julia's father, so he stays with him as well. So Luca and Alberto have to say goodbye to each other, and this moment did not make me cry, but I can understand if this would make someone cry because again, I really got invested in the characters of this movie a lot more than some other Pixar movies, even ones that I think are better. So this scene does hit really hard. This is a really beautiful scene. But the two agree that, well, they'll still get to see each other during summer, and this is what they need, this is what they want, and Luca's able to sit in the train right away, and that's how the movie ends. So, yeah, this was a really good movie. I wasn't even gonna watch this originally, much like A Bug's Life, which also wasn't on my Pixar ranking alongside this. But if you want to know where this would fall, if you haven't seen that video, you should. But I'll just say that this goes in between Car. This is better than Cars 1, but not as good as Cars 3. But I really liked this. More people should talk about it. Yeah, it's not exactly the most ambitious Pixar film of all time. This isn't gonna have some kind of hard-hitting message the way about the art of criticism like Ratatouille, or an actually good environmental message like Wall-E, or just some really absolutely amazing visuals like I don't know, Cars 3, which yeah, Cars 3 looked really good, guys. We should talk about that more. Or Inside Out, that's a good one, but I just really like this. I mean, for one reason that it's very important to me anyway, which is that I've never been able to get into a movie like Coco or especially Turning Red, which is just awful because part of the reason I can't really like those movies is that they're so established, so set in stone with the kind of foreign culture they're tackling that me as an American, I just can't connect with them. Not just because I'm an American. If I were Japanese, I wouldn't really be able to connect with Coco or Turning Red. So, much like Ratatouille, I really like that this is set in another country. It understands how that other country works, but a lot of the ideas and themes it tackles are things that are more universal, which is the thing Pixar used to be best at, which is what they finally did again with Inside Out 2, which I really appreciated. They understand that the themes this movie tackles about how people are afraid of others, and friendship, and family, it's all so well done. You don't need a bunch of crazy stuff about, as Greg Owen said, you will not relate to Turning Red unless you have overbearing Asian parents, which is weirdly specific. I don't have those in case you couldn't tell. But in conclusion, Luca is a really good movie that will definitely not win a Pixar's Best, not even close. I really liked it. You should watch it again if you haven't seen it in a while. And comment down below what you thought of this. I enjoyed making this one, so that's all for now. And as always, keep on juicing.